When Vanessa's elder sister backs out of an arranged marriage to a wealthy Korean heir at the last minute, Vanessa Cole, a 24-year-old Lagos event planner, is forced to take her place just so her family can avoid a scandal. But Vanessa had other plans. Plans carefully crafted to make the prestigious Lee family themselves run to court and file for divorce. The problem: Ethan Lee, her annoyingly perfect new husband, turned out to be a chronic wife defender. No matter what chaos she stirred up, he only smiled, leaned back in that infuriatingly calm way, and said, "If young madam did it, what makes you think she's wrong?" It was enough to make Vanessa wonder if she'd accidentally married her biggest fan instead of her escape route. The night before Clara Cole's wedding was supposed to be quiet. Instead, the whole Cole house turned into a storm. Vanessa Cole had been running around all week making sure her sister's wedding would be perfect. She had planned every detail: the flowers, the music, the food. Everything was ready for tomorrow. Then the front door burst open. Clara rushed in wearing jeans, sneakers, and a panicked face. She dragged a small suitcase behind her. Vanessa frowned. "Clara, why do you look like you're running away?" "Because I am," Clara said, breathless. "I can't do it, V. I can't marry a man I don't know just because Dad wants the business deal." Vanessa stared. "Clara, are you joking? The wedding is tomorrow. People have flown in from Korea. The cake is sitting in the kitchen." "I'm sorry," Clara whispered. I can't." And before Vanessa could grab her, Clara was out the door again and into a taxi. In less than 10 minutes, Vanessa was standing in the living room with her parents. Her father's jaw was tight. Her mother's eyes were wet. "Vanessa," her father said slowly, "we need you to step in for your sister." Vanessa blinked. "Step in? You mean marry her fiancé?" Her mother nodded. "Just until we fix this." Vanessa let out a sharp laugh. "No, absolutely not. Do you think I'm crazy? I'm not marrying some stranger from halfway across the world." "Vanessa, please," her mother said. "If we cancel tomorrow, the family's name will be ruined. We will lose everything we've worked for." "That's not my fault," Vanessa shot back. "Tell Clara to come back." "She won't," her father said. "And if this wedding doesn't happen, the deal with the Lee family is over. Years of work, gone." Vanessa crossed her arms. "So, that's still not my problem. I'm not a spare part you can just plug in." Her father sighed. "You'll get anything and everything you want. And I will personally invest in your event company." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "You think you can buy me into this madness?" Her mother stepped forward and took her hands. "We're not buying you. We're begging you. Please. Vanessa, help us." Vanessa groaned and turned away. She paced the room, muttering under her breath. She hated the idea. She hated the thought of smiling at a man she didn't know and calling him husband. But she also hated seeing her parents so desperate. Finally, she spun around. "Fine. But listen carefully. I am not staying in this marriage. I'll make sure your precious Korean son-in-law divorces me himself." Her father frowned. "How exactly?" "You'll see," Vanessa said with a sly smile. "By the time I'm done, he'll be begging to let me go." She didn't know then that Ethan Lee wasn't the type to be embarrassed, and that nothing pleased him more than keeping his wife happy, even if she was the trouble herself. When the wedding came, Vanessa walked down the aisle with a sad face. She wasn't shy about showing how unhappy she was to be there. But to Ethan, her to-be husband, she didn't look upset. He thought she looked cute and reserved. The ceremony went smoothly. The vows were said, the rings were exchanged, and the guests smiled politely. Then the reception began, and a slow, graceful Korean ballad started to play. The music was soft, the kind of song made for quiet dancing. Everyone's eyes turned to the new couple. Vanessa, however, had other plans. She stepped forward and suddenly began a wild Lagos legwork dance, stomping and twisting to the slow music like it was a street party. Gasps filled the hall. Korean guests exchanged confused looks. Some even covered their mouths, shocked at the bold display. This was not the proper dance for such a moment. All eyes shifted to Ethan. The room fell silent, waiting for the groom to react. From their seats, the guests saw him lean in close to his wife, as if whispering a private correction. But what Vanessa heard was, "You dance so well, wifey. You must teach me this dance at your convenience." Vanessa froze mid-step. Her cheeks burned red, not from embarrassment, but from pure frustration. She had planned to annoy him, maybe even shame him in front of his people. Instead, he sounded completely impressed. She forced a smile for the watching guests, but inside she was fuming. Why is this man not reacting the way I want? Ethan, on the other hand, simply took her hand and joined her in the dance, completely unbothered. And that was the moment Vanessa realized her plan to make him regret this marriage might not be as easy as she thought. Vanessa's parents could feel the tension in the air. They saw the shocked faces of the Korean guests, the tight smiles of the Lee family, and the endless camera flashes capturing every second. Her mother let out a nervous laugh, turning to the nearest guest. "Oh, our Vanessa just plays too much," she said lightly, waving her hand as if the dance was just a harmless joke. Her father chimed in with a forced smile. Yes, she's always been full of energy. That's just her nature." Outwardly, they kept up the act, laughing, nodding, pretending it was all part of some playful personality. But inside, they were furious. What on earth is wrong with this girl? Her mother thought, her jaw tight. Can't she just pretend for one day? Just one wedding? Her father clenched his fist under the table. She's making a mockery of herself. And of us. Still, they smiled and greeted the guests as if nothing had happened, silently praying she wouldn't do anything worse before the night ended. And when it was time for dinner, the grand hall was already glowing under soft golden lights. The tables shimmered with crystal glasses and tall candles, and the scent of roasted lamb filled the air. Guests murmured politely as waiters served steaming plates. Vanessa sat beside Ethan at the long bridal table, her smile fixed like a painted mask. She hated every second of it. The perfect music, the perfect food, the husband she didn't want. She had danced like a maniac earlier to embarrass him, but instead, he'd smiled and joined in. That still annoyed her. Fine, she thought. Round 2. When her plate was placed before her, Vanessa didn't touch the cutlery. Instead, she picked up the roasted lamb with her bare hands, tore off a chunk, and began eating noisily. The sound of her chewing cut through the soft piano music. Some guests froze mid-bite. A few Korean ladies stared in horror, their eyes darting to Ethan. But Ethan didn't flinch. "Enjoying the food?" he asked warmly, loud enough for the nearest tables to hear. Vanessa swallowed, lifted the bone like a trophy, and said, "Best lamb I've ever had." A ripple of awkward laughter moved through the room. Some guests looked away, embarrassed for her. Ethan simply leaned back, still smiling, as if his bride had done nothing strange at all. She tried again, dipping her fingers straight into the sauce, licking them slowly, almost daring him to be ashamed. But instead, Ethan chuckled and reached for a napkin. "You'll ruin your dress, wifey," he murmured, wiping her hand gently in front of everyone. That unexpected tenderness made her blood boil. And the guest giggled. She wanted him angry. She wanted him humiliated. Instead, he kept turning her scandals into moments of charm. Vanessa forced another smile for the guests, but inside, she was plotting. "If I have to flip this whole dinner table, I will." Vanessa's parents sat a few seats away, pretending to enjoy the meal while watching their daughter like hawks. A Korean aunt leaned forward with a polite smile. "So, Vanessa, I heard you love dancing." Her tone was friendly, but the smirk hiding behind her eyes wasn't. Vanessa, still chewing, grinned. "Of course. I can dance anywhere, anytime. Even here." Her mother's heart dropped. "No, don't you dare." Ethan chuckled lightly, placing a hand on her arm. "Maybe after dinner, wifey. I'll need you to teach me those moves." The in-laws chuckled politely, though some glanced at each other in disbelief. Vanessa's father took a long sip of wine, muttering under his breath, "Lord, just make her eat quietly." But Vanessa, oblivious to the silent tension strangling the table, reached for another piece of meat and began telling a loud, animated story about her childhood, complete with hand gestures that nearly knocked over a wine glass. Her parents kept smiling, but under the table, her mother's fingers dug into her husband's thigh. After this night, we're going to have a long talk with her. The wedding was finally over, but the chaos it left behind was only beginning. By the time Vanessa and Ethan moved to Korea, the paparazzi had already had a field day. Photos and clips from the wedding were everywhere, headlines screaming that the Lee family had married a wild woman for their precious son. Lee family marries a crazy woman. Bride's wild dance shocks wedding guests. Clips of her energetic, completely offbeat dance flooded social media. Gossip spread like wildfire. Some whispered that Vanessa must have walked straight out of a mental hospital and into the wedding hall. Others laughed and claimed she was a country girl with no sense of manners, completely unfit for the elegance of the Lee name. In the cafes, on TV talk shows, and even in hushed conversations at high-end boutiques, her name was on everyone's lips. Vanessa Cole, the foreign bride who turned a royal wedding into a circus.